Today we have a complete guide for everything that you need to know about MLS. Today I have my dad here who's going to join us as the beginner. Say hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Okay, here we go. Off to a good start. We're going to go ahead and get him signed up with Sorare, and we're just going to go through the entire process so that you guys can see exactly what's going on. And as questions pop into his head, he's just going to ask, and we'll answer them live. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of a feel of what the site's about, what the value proposition is, and then some of the just basic things that go along with the site. So we're going to go ahead, switch over, and we're going to go through the link on my Twitter account. And I'll also have a link in the description of the video here. But the link basically just helps me out, and it also allows you to get some free stuff whenever you do sign up for the account. So make sure that you use the link in the description to sign up for your account if you don't already have an account.
I like free stuff.
Yeah, it's great, right? Once you buy 5 cards from the auction, then you get a free card. So always helpful to get some free stuff. All right, so we've gone through the sign up process, and now it's going to ask us what our favorite clubs are. So this part is just going to give you a few players from each of these clubs. So it really doesn't matter. You can select whatever you want personally, whoever your favorite clubs are. For him, we're going to go DC United.
Are these all MLS clubs or European too?
No, that's any club. Dortmund.
Ooh.
And you don't
I
like
want to do
Dortmund?
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
I've
have
always liked that name.
another club you want?
Manchester United.
But you won't get any cards from it because they're not on the game yet.
Oh, okay.
So you select the 3 teams that you want to make your favorite clubs, and then you hit done down here. And then it's going to come up and say you're going to get introduced to your squad. So these will be your first initial common players that you'll start in the common league with. Now these are all free. You can't buy or sell these players, but you will be able to use them to get other free players. So we're going to go ahead and open the pack. It's going to give us 4 for right now. We got Jamal Musiala, who's a really, really good young player. Bill Hamid, who's one of my favorites, the goalkeeper from DC.
Oh, good.
Omar Richards, who's not Chris Richards. And Ola Kamara. So we got 2 DC and 2 Bayern Munich. Got a nice goalkeeper in here, so we'll definitely take that. What are the leagues? So there's a bunch of different types of leagues that they do in Sorare. So we have, first of all, we have limited versus rare pro versus super rare versus unique. So there's 5 different tiers, and the tiers correspond to different levels of the player. So on Sorare, they have an out of 1 card, which is called a unique. They have an out of 10 card, which is called a super rare card. They have an out of 100 card, which is called a rare card. And they have an out of 1,000 card, which is called a limited card. Now, within these leagues, there's different competitions that you can actually play. So we have a Global All-Star, we have a Global U23, and we have a Champion Europe are the examples showing here. So Global All-Star, you can submit any player from anywhere in the world as long as they're out of 1,000. Global Under 23, you can submit anybody under the age of 23. 23 years old also does count, and it'll show you on Sorare data how long they qualify for that under 23, and we'll go through Sorare data a little bit at the end. And then Champion Europe, so anybody from the top 5 leagues, so England, Italy, France, Germany, and Spain. All those guys are eligible. There are other leagues as well, Challenger Europe, America, Asia. Points are earned through real-life performances. So it's kind of like fantasy soccer that some of you guys might have played, Premier League soccer. Kind of like that. You get points based on if they have a tackle, if they have a shot, if they score a goal. That's called a decisive, so that's a little bit different. We have more in-depth videos about the scoring system that you can check out a little bit later on as well. But for now, just know that the players earn points based on how well they do in real life, and obviously the teams with the most points will get the highest up the rankings and get the best rewards. So what kinds of rewards are out there? It depends on what the division that you're playing in is. The top podium prizes, so like first, second, and third, will generally have a cash prize. The more people that take part, generally the higher the cash prize is. Also, the higher the level of the card that you're playing, the higher the cash prize is. It's going to tell us to go ahead and get started in the casual league. So the casual league is that common league that I was talking about. So we just added 4 common players to the team. So we're going to go ahead and enter a team, and for entering a team, it gives us a new player so that we have a few more options to choose from. So we'll go one by one here. We got Alisson, great goalkeeper from Liverpool. Goalkeepers are really, really important in this game, so it's good to get two solid goalkeepers right off the bat.
That's good.
Now we've got Joel Matip, also from Liverpool. Now we can kind of stack those two, and we can, when Alisson does well, typically Joel Matip is also going to do well because one's a goalkeeper, one's a defender. So we can almost stack those two and hope that they both do well the same week. Thibault Perret. So I'm not familiar with him, so I'm not going to comment on that. Abi Jallo, also not familiar with him. And Loic Laposine.
All right, so I got 4 cards when we started.
Correct.
This is 5, so now I have 9.
You have 9 total in your club.
And you play 5 at a time?
We're going to play 5 at a time, so it's going to come up. This is the lineup screen where we can enter our lineups, and we'll go through how to get to this screen once we actually get through the tutorial.
Okay.
So we have 2 options for goalkeeper, Bill Hamid and Alisson. Now, since Bill Hamid is MLS, he's not playing right now, so probably not a good idea to start him. We're going to say Alisson.
Yeah, good.
You can see, so up here, NG means no game, so he doesn't have a game this week, but Matip and Perret do. So we'll show us who the game is, so it's Liverpool versus Leeds United, and this number up here is going to show the last 5 average scores. So Matip has 72 points average over his last 5.
Ooh.
So it's very, very good. And Perret has 57. So this number here is the bonus. So every card is going to get a bonus based on if it's the current season, they get a 5% bonus. And then every level they go up in training, they get a 0.5% bonus. So it's very important to train your players. So we're going to start Matip. We're going to start J-Lo because he's the only guy with a game. We're going to start
Good decision.
Loic here as a forward. And then our only and then so we pick one from each position, and the last position is extra. So we can choose any defender, midfielder, or forward we want. So again, the only guy with a game, will start him. Now it's going to ask us which captain we want. So this C stands for captain. So we want to try to select the player that we think is going to do the best, because the captain is going to get a 20% bonus on their score for the week. So
you change captains every week?
You can change captains every week, or if you have one really, really good player, you can just select them over and over again. So in this situation, since Matip had such a good score, we're going to make Matip the captain. So we're going to go ahead and confirm that lineup. So for confirming, we get another pack, which is 1 card this time. You get 10 to start as you play common. So the rewards in the common leagues are more common cards. Yeah. So every week you play, you'll get another common card. So every week you'll get, and that'll be based on how well you do in the league itself. So this one is Malik Tillman.
The quality of the card you get will be based on how well you do, or the number of cards you get?
The quality.
The quality.
Yeah, so we'll go over the reward structure in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, the quality gets better the higher you finish. So we got Malik Tillman, who's 19 and plays for Bayern, so he must be pretty good. All right, so scarcities. We went over a little bit with the scarcities. We have the limiteds, so they can make 1,000 limiteds every single season. They can make 100 rares every single season. They can make 10 super rares and 1 unique, and then each of those play in their own separate league. And this is what the card looks like. We went over the bonus. We went over, so if they're eligible in under 23 league, you'll see this little badge here that says 23. That means you're allowed to play them in that league. So we'll get one more new player, and that is Paredes, my guy. We love Kevin Paredes here in the MLS Card Guy household. So here we go.
Even I know that name.
We'll take Kevin Paredes for sure. So now we'll go through the marketplace is what it wants us to go through next. So we have 2 ways to buy a card on Sorare. We can do an auction, which is coming directly from Sorare, or we can do a manager sale, which is there'll be a buy now price, and then you can offer lower if you think the price is too high. You can offer lower, or you can also actually message them and negotiate a little bit. So
that means another Sorare user.
Another user,
so
yeah.
You're buying a one-on-one deal
from somebody else.
Okay.
The great part is neither one of these have any gas fees. So if you know anything about Ethereum, typically when there's an exchange involved, there's a gas fee. This is all built off of Ethereum, so there's no gas fees. You just buy and sell the players. And you can also trade as well.
But these were free players, so
The common cards we got.
Okay, common
free.
cards are free.
This is how we would go and buy.
To get the rare and Sorare and stuff.
Right. You can filter everything by what you want to see. So say we want to go and buy a forward. We can put forwards on here. We can say I want it to be a super rare forward. And it'll show us all of the different auctions that are ending. And it's sorted by ending soon. But you can also sort it by lowest price, highest price, or newly listed. So a bunch of different options here. Very, very self-explanatory.
And those are prices in euros that are shown up?
Yes, these are prices in euros.
It's the price you have that they're asking, or the price?
This is the current price right now. So these are all auctions that we're on right now. So if we wanted to go in here, it would show us the new price that we have to bid to be above the old price. It's a certain percentage. So the higher up the value of the card, the more you have to outbid the next person down by. You can pay it with a credit card or debit card or whatever, or you can use ETH already in your wallet. Since we don't have any right now, we're not going to purchase a super rare player. That's how you do auctions. There's a little timer at the bottom that shows you how much time is left on the auction.
So do you sort of wait till the end and bid your last price, or do you try to bid early and scare other people out?
So pretty much you want to wait to the end. We did do a video on how to win auctions, and the auction process has slightly changed since that video came out. But the general gist is pretty much the same. You want to wait until the end, unless you get to your max price. If it gets to basically the market price, and you want to offer one rung below the market price, you should do that as soon as possible, because the first person to bid is the one at that price, and then somebody else has to outbid them.
What is the market price if it's not the price that's going in these auctions?
Good question. So the market price is over here in manager sales, which is where we're about to go now. So I can search. Let's say we want to go. Let's say we really liked our Kevin Paredes, and we want to go and buy an actual Kevin Paredes. We're going to go and look and see what's the limited price on him. So right now it looks like the lowest limited price is 62 euros. Now I would change this into ETH, because most of the game is played in ETH, but you can put it in dollars, you can put it in euros, whatever your local currency is.
Okay.
And then I would play the game in ETH personally. So I actually don't know how much that is in terms of ETH, but you can see the prices here. So let's say there's a bid up for auction, and it's going for 45 euros right now. The next bid is 55 euros. I probably don't want to wait to the end to see if somebody bids 55, because then I'm going to have to bid 65, and I could just go ahead and buy this one straight up.
Yeah, if you have a max, you bid one click below your max.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is how you buy players straight up from the manager sales. Again, that's under market and then manager sales. You can search by player, you can search by anything you want to here. And then we can bring up, so say we like a player, right? But I say, you know what, 62 euros is too much. I want to offer less. I'm going to come in here to the card and say make an offer. And it says, okay, how much do you want to offer? Well, I want to offer 45 euros. So then I would just hit send. That's the price in Ethereum that it's going to send over. And it would send that offer to the other manager, and they would either accept or decline. There's no counteroffer button at this point, but it's a one-time either yes or no. Or you could just buy it outright.
If he says no, I could make another offer slightly higher?
You could make another offer, but within reason. Don't just spam people with offers.
Right.
But yeah, you could make a slightly higher offer, but generally you're going to offer your best price whenever you are making an offer.
And is that 62 euros? Is that what he's offering to sell it for?
Correct. If I hit buy, it's just I'm just gonna buy it for 62 euros.
So that's a buy it now price.
Correct. So say I want to go in and I want to actually talk to him, and I want to say, hey, can you give it to me for a little bit less than that? I can actually go in here. A lot of users have their Discord linked here, and actually they have their Twitter linked here now as well. So you can go in and message this person on Discord and say, hey, I really like Kevin Paredes. Can you come down in the price at all? You don't have to make an actual offer. You can talk to someone. You can offer a trade if you want to. You can say, hey, I have this card. Would you be willing to trade instead of having cash change hands each time? you can go in and actually talk to them. Most people do have that linked. If they don't have that linked, there's no way to communicate with them, though. You just have to make straight off. All right, so next we're going to go through the club, and we're just going to take a look. So if you ever want to take a look at your cards, you can come right here, and you can see all the cards you got sorted by the newest one first. You can always sort it by something different here, highest average score, highest price, anything like that. So these are the cards that you have so far. 11 so far in total, which is how many you get when you start. And then, as I said, when you go through the Common League, you'll get more cards.
Do they have it rigged so that all the players have roughly the same average score? A really good goalie will be the same as a really good forward, the same as a really good defenseman, or do goalies tend to score more?
Good question. So goalies tend to be more clumped together, so the really big goalies don't outscore the really bad goalies by much. Okay. So they're very, very clumped, but they're also very, very expensive. Defenders tend to be the most consistent, so week to week their scores don't change as much because they're judged on things like tackles and interceptions, which are more consistent game to game. Yeah. Midfielders can go either way. You can have defensive midfielders that are very consistent, or you can have attacking midfielders that score goals and get decisives, and you'll see graphs that go way up and down a lot. And then forwards generally are going to be more up and down. So one week they'll score 70, the next week they'll score 30.
But on the long run, are their averages kind of rigged to be roughly about the same?
Generally, and this is again very, very generally, the best players in MLS are midfielders. The next best are forwards, elite forwards, and then defenders. But it's very, very close, and you have plenty of defenders that are better than most of the midfielders.
Okay.
So yes, to a certain degree, but it's more about within each position how consistent you are. Now, I will say when you're starting an extra player, typically I'm going to make that be either a defender or a midfielder because they are more consistent. So you have a much better chance of getting a decent score with your lineup. So the last thing to point out on this screen here is since he went through the link, and he went through the link that, again, will be in the description, he is actually going to get a limited card whenever he gets 5 cards from auction. So you can see his progress on this bar here. Once he buys one, it'll be there, there, and then there, and blah, blah, blah. So that's
so do
very,
I have to
very
buy
important.
5 cards in the same class? Or
no.
Could I buy 5?
5 of anything. But they do have to be from auction. That's the only caveat. So
as
they have
opposed to from another player?
Directly
the
from
manager
Sorare.
sale.
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of card do I get? Do I get a rare card?
It can be anything. So it is a limited card. But it could be anything. It could be Kylian Mbappe, or it could be a teenager who's never going to play in his entire career.
Okay.
It's completely random
But
chance.
the card I get is a limited card.
It's a limited card. It's out of 1,000.
No matter whether I'm buying rares or super rares.
Right. It doesn't matter what you buy. It's you just get a random draw.
I see. Okay.
Now, if we want to try to evaluate our players or our team, we're actually going to go off of the Sorare site and go to another site, which will end up being your best friend. And that is Sorare Data. So we're on to Sorare Data now. So this is where we're going to get all of our stats, all of our analytics. We're going to be able to see any player and be able to make decisions from there. So first off, right on the homepage are some important things that we want to know. We want to see the auction volume. This is how much Sorare is putting out. This number is in ETH, so they're selling 143 ETH worth of players in the last 24 hours. Then we want to know the offer volume, which is 326 right now, which is a little bit low from what we have been seeing in the past. So the auction and offer volume give you an idea of the demand in the market overall. So it can give you, if you see this offer volume going up a lot, you can be pretty sure that at least one segment of the market is having a big rise in demand and therefore a big rise in price.
Okay, so the auction is what Sorare themselves are selling, and the offer volume is what different players.
Correct. Manager to manager.
Managers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So this is historical. We don't really care about this number, but if you really care, there have been $200 million worth of sales from manager to manager and $125 million worth of sales that Sorare itself has done. So that's the main page from Sorare Data. There's a few things that we want to point out here. So when we're going to build our lineups initially, we're going to go to the lineup builder. which is aptly named.
It seems like a good place to go to build a lineup.
Yeah. So this is going to give us a little bit more in-depth information about our players. So it's going to give us some more information about our players. So this is Lee Bum So from Asia. He's from Gangwon, I think, in South Korea. His last 5, he's averaged a 35, which is really bad. This little bar under here shows us how many games he's played. So I think he's only played 2 or 3 of the last 5. But you can see before that, the last 15, he was averaging 48, which is much, much better. So he actually got benched towards the end of the year because they were in trouble. It shows you the amount of people that own that card that play that card in So 5. And then it shows you the division level that they play it at. And then it'll also show you, if they have a game, it'll show you what their opponent does. So maybe we have a forward unit that just kills everybody. They score 16 goals on everybody every single game, and goalkeepers always have low scores against them.
Right.
It'll show us that, hey, you might want to find somebody else to play. Okay. And it'll show us their opponent's scores as well. And then the reverse is also true. Maybe there's a team that can't score a goal to save their lives, and you're virtually guaranteed to get a clean sheet. It'll show on the opponent scores. And then if we want, we can, add them into the lineup and select, and we can build multiple different lineups.
So the number is how many points they give up against people of this same position.
Correct.
Okay, so there would be like 3 midfielders typically.
So if we're playing DC, right? DC will have an opposing number against goalkeepers, against defenders, against midfielders, and against forwards.
Okay.
So against forwards, DC averages giving up 45 points. One more little thing about this screen that we want to pay attention to is this right here. So it'll say, you were talking about how many points do you need to score in order to win.
Okay.
It'll show you over the last 10 weeks in All-Star Limited, the average bottom reward has been 280. You need 280 points to score. Now, that changes wildly week to week. So some weeks it might be 240, some weeks it might be 320.
Okay.
But that's an average over the last 10. And you can go through and change it to, let's say, All-Star Unique. You need 460, 769.
So is there only one level that matters? Either win or don't win? There's not...
No, there's multiple levels, and it'll show you that in the game week. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to go to is the So 5 results. So that's found under your name, and then you go to My So 5 results, and you can select which week you want to look at. So we're going to look at game week 221, which was back when MLS was still going. You can see the different lineups that I submitted. So I had 4 lineups in this week. And then down here, it'll show you how many points that lineup scored and if there was a reward. It should also show us, if we go to the actual lineup and click this little thing, it'll show us exactly how many points were needed to hit each tier of the reward. So this lineup did end up winning a reward. They scored 279.15, and they got a tier 3 reward. So this number in green means that I scored 28 more points than someone who didn't get any reward.
Oh, okay. This
number up here is tier 2 limited, so since it's in red, I needed to score 29 more points to get to the next tier, and you can see I was 163 points short of first place, so just missed it, just barely.
Yeah.
So this is a really interesting screen to, once you actually have players playing in games, you can come here and take a look. Now this doesn't support the common league, so you'll have to go on actual Sorare to look at that, but every other lineup, you can actually link your account to Sorare data, and it'll show you every other lineup that you have. Lastly, if we're going to go and take a look, so we'll show, since this is linked to my gallery, these are all the players that I own down here. You can see mostly out of 1,000s, and it'll show you a breakdown here: 120 out of 1,000, 45 out of 100, and 8 out of 10. It'll also show you I've won 14 rewards, and I don't know why that's there because I've never won anything. I've never actually won a competition. So we can sort by all the different positions. We can sort by the different leagues. We can sort by scarcity. We can arrange them different ways as well. But then once we actually go into the player, this is going to be the meat of it. So if you click onto a player card in Sorare data, this will be the screen. It'll tell you the different things that have happened for this card. over the course of history. So on 7/14, Mousy won it for 0.25 on ETH, and then he ended up selling it for a very, very small profit in ETH. And then Stefanik sold it for a little bit of a profit, and then I got it from CBN.
He looks like he has a sad face.
Some of them do. Some of them are very, very sad. Maybe that's something you can collect, is just sad players. Maybe you go to like DC United camp and just make them all sad for the day so you can collect them all. All right, so Jimmy Maurer. So once we actually click into his name, then his full player page shows up. So this is a normal player page that you're going to go to for almost everything. So down here, first of all, we can see up here, this is the out of 1,000 number. So this is the 3-day average sale price. And then it gives a 7-day, 2-week, 1 month. And then this is the best offer. So somebody is willing to get rid of him for 0.015 for the out of 1,000. Same thing on rare, super rare, and unique. If there is no information, it'll say no sale. So there hasn't been a super rare sold in the last 3 days, which is fairly normal. Super rares don't move very often.
So the higher the number there, okay. So
this is a price.
Yeah, but if the 2-week average is higher than the 3-day average, that means this price is going down.
Correct. But we're going to see that better on the price graph. So
okay. This
is the price graph.
Oh, okay.
This is super helpful. It'll default to the rare, but if you're looking for a limited, you can also change it to that. And then you can also change 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, or 1 year. And I do it based on which scarcity I'm looking at. So if I go limited, I'm typically only going to look at the last month because there's been a ton of sales. Limiteds move all the time, almost every day. The rare cards move a little bit less. If I'm going to go super rare, I'm going to probably go for a year. So you can see there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 times that this super rare card has sold in a year. So not a lot of movement. So if I try to do that for 3 months, it's going to give me 2 points that mean absolutely nothing. So this is his limited price, and each one of these dots is a sale. Now it's color coded, and if you're not sure what the color is, you can always mouse over it and it'll tell you. So these blues are auctions. That means they bought it directly from Sorare. The red is going to be a direct offer, so that means someone had something either listed up or unlisted, and someone was sent an offer of just straight ETH, not a trade. Trades aren't listed in here at all because it's very hard to determine value with trades.
Yeah.
But this direct offer means that you had it listed for some price. I said I'll pay you less than that, and you accepted.
Okay.
Okay. And then these purple dots are public offers. That means it was out there on the market for anybody to grab, and somebody bought it now. Next thing that's very, very important is the scores, right? So we want to know how well a player does. So this graph is going to tell us all the different scores that the player has gotten over the last, however long we want to put it. It's at 1 year right now. So in the last game, he had a 64, which was really, really good against San Jose. Then 41, 50, 42. These mean he didn't start the game. So when you see these, normally a warning indication to look further into the player and see why he didn't start that game.
Didn't start or didn't play at all?
Didn't play at all, actually. Okay. And that means they get a 0. So if your guy doesn't play in the game, fortunately, he gets a 0. You want to try to minimize these as much as humanly possible. Now, there's rotation. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get a notification 5 minutes before a game that, hey, this guy's not starting. You've already submitted him to your lineup, and you just have to eat it. But as much as humanly possible, you want to try to avoid the DNPs. Now, further down here, we get a game-by-game breakdown of exactly where his score came from. So this is going to be a lot more important if we go to, say, a midfielder. So this is going to give us a game-by-game breakdown of exactly how they did in each game. And it's going to break it down based as decisive versus all around. So the basic difference is, and we could do a whole video just on how scoring's done. I've actually done that, so go and find that one. We have decisives, which you can either go up or down in decisive. Up decisives would be things like goals, assists, penalties won, clearing a ball off the goal line for a goalkeeper would be a shutout. These bring your score. You get a base score of 35 for starting, so you can see a lot of 35s in here. So if they just start and they don't do any decisives, they get 35. And then if they get a decisive, it would be 60. The next decisive up is 70, 80, 90, 100. If they go down a decisive, if they get a red card, if they have a mistake that leads to a goal, if they give away a penalty, then this number will be 15 as a decisive. So decisives are very, very important, and they're typically what lead you to having really, really big scores. But the all-around is where you're more consistent. So all-around is things like tackles, things like shots on goal, things like attempted assists, things like interceptions. All of that goes into the all-around score, and each all-around score is either going to go up or down depending on how well they did. Giving possession away is a big one that loses you points. So you can go up or down based on that. Add these two together to get this score. Now, the only caveat here is if you go up a decisive, you can't have a score below 60. So you see how he actually had a negative all-around score, but he ended up with a 60? They have a base cap. If you have a decisive, you get at least 60. You can still go up, but you can't go back down. So you just simply add these two together, and you'll get the total score. So a guy like Luciano Acosta, really, really, really solid at getting a lot of consistent either decisives or having really, really good games. Because you can see, especially over the last half of the year, he was fantastic.
All right, so am I going to make more money flipping players, buying and selling them, buying them low and selling them high, or am I going to make more money by winning prizes in the tournaments?
That depends. Depends on how well you know your stuff, how lucky you get to a certain degree. If you can consistently identify young talent that breaks out, you're going to probably be pretty good at flipping players.
Okay.
Otherwise, you can have kind of a more baseline with the rewards and doing what's called an ETH grind. So you're just constantly entering into that Global All-Star 4 tournament and constantly racking up those cash prizes. That's one of the best ways that you can get started as a beginner. But yeah, it'll take a little while for you to learn the market and learn how to flip cards.
And if you do win a cash prize, is it the same dollar value every month or every week?
It's the same ETH value.
Oh, sorry. It's the same ETH value.
Yeah, for the ETH grind. It's always 0.01 and 0.02. The prizes themselves, like the podium prizes, if you're lucky enough to finish on the podium, those change based on how many people are available for that game week.
Okay. So how much in ETH does it cost to buy a decent team?
That's a great question. It depends on what team you're trying to buy. If you're trying to buy an out of 1,000 team, it's obviously a lot less than if you're trying to buy an ETH grind team. Right. I did a whole video, which we'll link up here, on the different budget.
Okay, and so to have a reasonable team, I'm playing 5 players, but obviously people will get hurt, people will be out. How many subs do I need typically to always have a consistent good lineup?
Yeah, so when you're first building your team for your first lineup, I would say you probably want about 8. So you probably want to go and get a goalkeeper. If you're playing the out of 1,000 league, let's say, you probably want to go and get a goalkeeper. You probably want to get 2 defenders, 2 mids, 2 forwards, and then 1 of something else, a defender or a midfielder. So yeah, I would say 8 for your first lineup, but then once you have a second lineup, so say I built 8 MLS players, now I want to go and play in Global All-Star, I would probably only buy 7 more players because you can always change them between the 2 teams. So hopefully you guys got to see a little bit of the process behind Sorare. The game itself will take months and months and months for you to become an expert, but this is just a very basic guide just to get you started. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself on Twitter. We have a Patreon page as well where you can get a little bit of inside information. But until the next time, Vamos United.